guy, and this is going to be Arnold. Arnold is a guy coming from Texas, and Arnold wants to argue for the probability that God exists. Arnold, you are on AXP with Emma Thorne and Johnny P. Argue. Make it so.
Well,
What do you got?
So my basic argument for why I believe God is more probable is I was doing some research and I found out that humans are predisposed to believe in a God in the afterlife. And so throughout my high school career, I was taught that evolution, it creates the most essential evolutions, the most efficient evolutions to allow beings and organisms to evolve rapidly. But why would evolution allow for somebody to be predisposed to believe in a God in the afterlife? So that doesn't make any sense to me, other than the fact that if it were a God, God would purposely put that inside of humans to believe that God exists. Another thing
Ooh.
that really troubles.
Oh, can we?
Wait, yeah.
Sorry, Arnold. Can we do 1 point before we go on to the next one? Just because you got me excited.
Yeah.
There's lots of reasons why we have a lot of sort of tribalistic things where we are kind of predisposed to enjoy religions and fall into certain groups and things. And there's a lot of like basic. We're a communal species, which is quite different from a lot of the animal kingdom.
Mhm.
Some stuff that has come out sort of recently in sort of science discussion has been about the sort of aging female population of humans and how strange that is, and how it's all to do with how we have this sort of communal upbringings. It's basically we invented grandmas as a species, more or less. That's scientists won't appreciate that way of saying it, but more or less. So community is a huge aspect, and this covers a lot of the personal reasons that people enjoy religion. It's community aspects. It's religion often forms like a central hub. Our interest in religion spans into just the general supernatural, and that crosses over often into conspiracy theories as well, which kind of brings me to a point that I wanted to say about your first kind of statement, which is that we don't always, by evolution, end up with we're not the perfect form. We have organs that do nothing but kill us occasionally. We have we've got strange bones in places that we don't need them. We are generally humans are a pretty good example of that. If God designed us, we're certainly not perfect in his image, or if evolution is not some perfect, the best option wins every time. There's an element of randomness, might be the wrong word, but there's an element of that to it. So, okay, Johnny, did you want to add anything to that before we
Yeah,
continue?
I would. This conversation came up in a show I was listening to the other day. I want to say it was an old episode of Talk Heathen, or maybe it was Truth Wanted, but I'm not sure. Somebody was calling in and saying that we believe the human cultures, and let me know if this is on the same path as where you're going, where throughout history, across cultures, across the world, human beings tend to have a belief in supernatural, which is
Yeah.
therefore evidence of a supernatural existence.
So if I could add a question to that, I think in my opinion, there's multiple ways for humans to form communal bonds. So it just really
Wait,
puzzles
no,
me that.
Arnold, no.
So
I thought
that
you were going to actually address what I was talking about. Sorry about that. I know it's a conversation. We're doing the first thing first. Happy to do the communal bonds thing, but first things first. What Emma had addressed. You had suggested that, and I'm asking you a question, so it's a yes or no, and I'm saying something different, Johnny. That's off topic. But please answer this question first so I understand, because I'm a little lost. Right? Are you
okay.
asserting that because many human beings across cultures, the world, time, and space, have a belief in God that is therefore embedded in us by a God, that God exists? Is that something that you're asserting?
I think it's more probable, yes.
Okay. How do you first of all, how do you determine it's more probable? What are your numbers?
Well,
And more probable than what? Sorry.
Yeah, more probable than what?
if you look at the animal kingdom as a whole, there's no other animal that mimics the same supernatural predisposition that we have. No other animal has the same
Crows.
consciousness or intelligence or
Crows.
Sebastian.
Crows.
Crows?
So, crows exhibit
For the
supernatural
rational,
tendencies.
How so?
they do.
So there was I obviously don't have a study to hand because I didn't know I was going to get to bring up crows. But they I think this might be the case with a couple of corvids actually. But they basically there are experiments done in which humans provided them with food at certain intervals based on certain things. And so you would have, if a crow was jumping around in a circle when the food came one time, they'd become predisposed to a supernatural belief that spinning around in a circle is what gets it the food. And it didn't matter if it didn't get the food every time, it would still keep spinning in a circle. And they did it in all different kinds of ways, which is basically a supernatural level belief. So
Cool.
crows win. Sorry, Arnold.
Cool. Arnold, also, so what?
But is that
So what? So
supernatural or is that
humans
just
so
strange?
humans are let's assume that your assumption is correct and there's some other explanation besides the very interesting world of corvids. All right. Let's say humans are the only species who have a god belief. Well, as far as we know, we are the most intellectually sophisticated species on the earth, right? We have the biggest, best, most
Yeah.
tremendous brains, right? And
Agree.
we are also predators. And at the time, as we were evolving through history, we existed in a world of other predators. We're pattern recognizing because pattern recognition aided us in survival. And so as we grew more sophisticated and our knowledge base grew and we started developing culture, we had that tool that helped us avoid predators, find prey, find examples of healthy fruits and vegetables and stuff to eat, water. We started expounding upon that and building this, and we started attaching to this higher concepts of existence. And it had the beneficial side effect of tying these communities together in a common rhetorical and cultural context. I don't see any reason why we have to assume that sweet Jesus planted it in us when there's a really good reason why it benefited us in those earlier stages of human development.
To be clear, I'm not arguing for Christianity or any other religion. I'm just arguing for God. But you brought up pattern recognition, and so one thing that I'm really confused on is if you have a rational thinker who doesn't believe in God, wouldn't that person be better at making rational choices in daily life, like hunting down animals? Whereas if you have somebody who's delusional and believes in God, wouldn't that person be worse off for society as a whole? So wouldn't it make sense for evolution to naturally select out the people who are predisposed to believe in God and only select out the population
Wow.
is rational? And
That's a lot of factors you're going on there. That's a lot of factors you've added all together
That
at
feels a bit
once.
anti-theist.
Yeah,
the
wouldn't
sort
it
of
be
equating religion with delusion.
Yeah, wouldn't if you have
all I'm
if you
saying
have
is
a being who
from the
believes in
atheist
God who is
perspective.
also totally awesome, and you have a being who doesn't believe in God and tends to kill everybody in his village, wouldn't it be more beneficial to believe in God? No, 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 no,
And
no.
remember, well, I said a minute ago, evolution
Yeah,
doesn't necessarily pick. It's not a conscious decision-making thing. It's not a design thing. It doesn't pick the best thing every time. So,
yeah.
like Johnny said, there are all these factors that make believing in religion and
So do you have
passing
a
it
single
down
example?
generationally a benefit.
So do
Say
you have a
again?
single example of a vestigial structure in humans?
Well, you're jumping around. Let's go back. Let's go back
Well,
to.
I mean,
Well, go back. Let's
she
go
just
back to the
brought up
first point.
that
Let's go back to the first point.
evolution
I'd
is
like
not
you to
perfect.
at least admit. I'd like you to at least admit that there's not that the fact that religion exists and that it did serve a function in early hominid cultures is not a sufficient reason to believe in the existence of God. Can you
Well,
do that?
my argument was opposite of that. My argument was saying that because religion doesn't serve a purpose, that it shouldn't be existing of that.
But
Because
it
it
does
serves an
serve a
It
anti-purpose.
purpose.
does
It's
serve a
negative
purpose. Yeah.
We were just talking about all the purposes it
Yeah.
serves and why it was
communal.
beneficial to
But
communities.
I said that communal societies can be formed in other ways.
They absolutely can.
They can.
Absolutely.
That's why some people go mad on football instead of religion.
Yeah, they sure do. And
Or
soccer.
soccer.
If religion encourages,
It's a British
but
term.
if religion encourages irrational thinking, I guess my question is, well, wouldn't that be
Well,
very,
that's
very
an
negative for society as a whole,
assumption.
very detrimental?
That's an assumption we'd have to deal with separately. Does religion cause irrational thinking? Is an entirely separate question. That's not a position that we've
Yeah.
asserted.
And Arnold, I would also say that some of my most intelligent friends, some of my best friends are theists, man. No, some of the most intelligent people are theists. Some of the most stupid people are theists. It's because
Mhm.
I think that people can compartmentalize their belief. The questions that religion and theism generally deals with are difficult to grasp realities of our lives, life and death, morality, loss, um, justice, and there's no easy answers for any of those issues. And so, because there's no easy answer, it's not surprising that people would latch on to some unattainable goal and some unapproachable deity that governs these things. I can negotiate with you the price of amphora in the Greek marketplace in Athens, but I sure can't tell you any final answer as to the contradictions inherent in discussions about piety and justice, right? So I can just externalize those ideas into the divine realm, right? And because there's no good answers, because there's all these different opinions, you never really arrive at a final answer to those questions. So those
So
until
in regards
fairly
to your previous
recently,
point,
so
I guess
unfairly recently, Arnold, those areas have gone unquestioned to be the realm of religion. And now we live in a post enlightenment time where we are consistently going after these questions, trying to define what actually works for us as far as justice is concerned, addressing rights and
I was
wrongs,
saying,
allocating
going back to the
resources.
original point,
Yeah.
going back to the original point of if religion plays a purpose, and I guess I will concede that point that religion does play a purpose, but I was still wondering, do you have an example of a vestigial structure or a time when evolution got it wrong in the human body,
Yeah, what about the appendix?
or like
Well, they say that the
the
appendix
appendix?
might aid in
But the appendix
digestion.
is
I
helpful
was
for
talking.
like diarrhea and also restoring your gut flora. So
Yeah, I was looking at that recently. What's that
Oh, yeah.
pharyngeal nerve? What's that
Oh,
nerve that goes
yeah.
down? That one? How about
Yeah.
how about
There's some stuff
yeah,
to do with the neck that I don't,
yeah.
again, not a science person, so I haven't retained
Yeah,
any of that
me neither. How
information.
about
I'm
the
sorry.
esophagus being right next to the windpipe that results in
Mm.
choking? How about the fact that human babies are born with giant freaking noggins and that can in nature result in a lot of
you brought up a lot of stuff.
mortality,
Mhm.
infant mortality and the death of the mother.
And yeah, we have a devastating like mother mortality rate compared to most animal
Yeah.
species because of the design there.
Yeah, we got
The design.
wisdom. Yeah, we got wisdom teeth. We've got people that need no offense, Emma, but you're wearing glasses. If you were in a state of nature, you'd be SOL. I wear glasses
Yeah.
too, but only for far away things, which is even worse because I wouldn't be able to see the polar bear coming for me.
Well, I win then because I am nearsighted. It's just bad.
Yeah. How are you pick the good berries from the
But I
bad?
guess that
Nope.
none of those
Yeah, I'm a
examples are
failure.
really vestigial stuff. But I guess the problem is none of those issues that you brought up are really vestigial structures. Like eyesight can be explained because as we age, we aren't meant to live 60 or 70 years in the natural. Well, maybe God designed us only to live 40 years, for example. And the pharyngeal, I haven't done research on that, but I'm happy
I
to
thought,
do research on
well,
the pharyngeal
I
nerve
mean,
that you brought up.
biblically, God designed us to live hundreds of years.
I'm not
It's
arguing
only
for
through our
God in the
sin
Bible.
that we die so soon, right?
I'm not
Also,
arguing
the thing
for
is, I mean, this.
or
Forgive me if this
Islam
is a
or
bit like.
Sorry, Arnold.
Sorry,
Let's
Arnold.
let's let Emma
Sorry,
finish
Arnold.
her piece, and we'll let you talk after that.
This is we're on an internet delay as well, so it doesn't
Mhm.
help talking over each other. I apologize, Arnold.
Yeah.
But yeah, it kind of almost. And forgive me if this is a bit facetious. If you know, God was responsible for this, uh, you know, planting the seed of us being predisposed to religion. If he was able and chose to do that, well, he could have done a million other things. He could have made us believe in the specific correct understanding of the God that exists, and we wouldn't have to have call-in shows discussing it. It just doesn't. It doesn't make. And then,
So,
how
so,
did we end up with people
so,
who don't have a religion, etc.? It
with
just is sort
regards to
of.
that,
It can spiral because there's no. I don't find there's much concrete ground there.
Okay, Arnold, you're
so
you're
in regards to
chomping
that
at the
point, so
bit. Go ahead.
Champing.
okay, so in
I
regards to
know, I knew it.
so you brought up a lot of points.
I'm so
If God,
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm a bad
As it
person.
came out.
I'm sorry as well. I'm sorry as well. My internet connection is kind of slow, so it is kind of on me. But so you brought up a lot of point. You're saying that if God was real, then why would He create so many different denominations? I'm not advocating for the fact that that one specific denomination is correct. I'm not even advocating that God is a good person. God may be an evil God. He may have purposely created a confusion of religions. I'm just arguing that it's more probable for an existence of God. I'm not saying any religion is correct. I'm saying God might have created all the religions. He might have created a massive confusion, but I think it still it errs on the possibility where it should be rationally considered.
I mean, it just
And also
comes
another
down
thing that,
to
Yeah,
a probability argument again, though, doesn't
yeah,
it? And then we're just in a state where we disagree,
yeah.
and there's not really anything we
Arnold,
can.
Arnold, it does need to be rationally considered. We've rationally considered it, and we don't have enough facts to be able to do a probability analysis. Did you let me ask you this question, okay? I'm going to be forthright and tell you in high school and in college, I did everything I could to avoid science, math, statistics, probability. You know why? Because I was lazy and I didn't want to do that stuff. But I do understand that you have to have, please comments, correct me if I'm wrong. In order to do a probability analysis, you kind of have to have the numbers there, right? You have to know the total set
yeah, I
of, we don't have that. We have a set of one. The universe exists and all the things in it, right? How can you
I'm
how can
saying
you
so.
say,
So if you
go
believe,
ahead. Yeah.
so if you have certain beliefs that don't require numbers, why would you not believe in other things that do require numbers? I guess I'm saying, like, if you can believe some things on total faith, why not believe in other things
Well,
that
because
require
you're
total
arguing
faith?
for probability, which is numbers based, Arnold.
Yeah.
I guess
Uh,
that's true, but it's still essentially a faith-based act, right? Yeah, I mean,
no.
at
No,
some
it's
point you
not.
have to jump off,
No,
take it on faith.
Arnold.
Well,
What do you
your
have to
side
take?
is the faith based,
Yeah.
because you're opting for something that cannot be proven.
Or are you saying that atheism is a faith-based position?
No. I'm saying that at some point, because certain beliefs require a point where you can no longer just continue on the train of rational thought because the numbers don't extend. Like, for example, the Big Bang, we don't have a definite answer as to how the universe was created. So at some point, you have to jump off from the train
Well,
of
that's when
rational
we say
thought.
I don't
No
know.
longer can,
Yeah.
You don't
I
have to have faith in an
yeah.
answer.
Yeah.
You're either somebody knowledgeable in science and you say, well, this theory is my favorite because of these reasons,
Yeah.
or you're an idiot like me and you say, I don't know. I don't have faith in any. There's no faith based anything there.
Arnold, are you asserting that faith is a reliable tool to discern true things and eliminate false things?
No, I'm not. I'm asserting that faith it's probably a useful psychological crutch for people, and I don't see the harm in people believing in a God, especially if it's a psychological crutch. Even if it is a bad one, I think it's beneficial overall.
Okay.
Especially given the probability, given Pascal's wager, if God is false,
Sure.
then we're all going to go to
So
hell forever.
yeah,
But if
sure.
God is
Pascal's
true,
wager is garbage. So Arnold, let's say that you're a woman, a she person, living in Saudi
well, I
Arabia,
don't believe
right?
in.
Let's
I,
say
but
you're a
I
woman.
personally I don't
Let's
identify
say
as that way.
you're a woman living in Saudi Arabia right now. And the faith of many of the people living in Saudi Arabia right now is to restrict the autonomy of women. Do you think that faith is harmless in reality, Arnold?
Well, first, I think it's important to mention that the reason why Saudi Arabia is so cruel towards female rights is partially because of Sharia law, which is inspired by the Book of Quran. But I don't think it's fair to say that the belief of God can be then correlated to an entire governmental system, which is completely different. Because belief in God is one thing, but then using that belief in God to extrapolate a whole bunch of different ideas, which Allah proposes, is a completely different topic. But I do condemn the Saudi Arabia government
Great,
if they were to believe that God told them all these different laws. I'm not in
great.
disagreement with you on that. I think it is evil.
Are you Christian or Catholic or some sort of other religion? What is your religion, if I may ask?
I'm a non-denominational Christian, but I'm not trying to push
I know
for any
you're not. I'm
specific
not saying
religion.
that you're trying to push anything. You're non-denominational Christian. Okay. Um,
Hmm.
What is your belief regarding a reproductive rights?
Such as like Roe v. Wade and abortion. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't really done a lot of research on it, so I don't want to be like I don't
Mhm.
want to be too forthcoming about what my beliefs are. But I think that
A
if,
touchy
if there's a
subject.
proper solution where we can kind of meet in the middle, where some women can be regulated by, have a question births or births which are medically necessary, I think that's definitely a medical necessity. Then women should be able to have those births. But I haven't
Mhm.
really studied that topic deeply, so I'm not gonna really be confident about any response to pro rights or pro choice or pro life.
That's a good answer. That's a good answer. Apply that. I don't know. I don't have confidence in this
Yeah.
to theistic
But
discussions as
because
well,
I
and you'll
have
be
studied
onto a winner.
theology a little,
Yeah. Also,
but the difference with theology is I have studied a little bit, so
okay. Well, so
I
Arnold,
feel
I think
relatively
the issue is Arnold. I think the issue is that these ideas don't exist in a vacuum, and I think that you hit it right on the head with regard to Sharia law and Saudi Arabia. I kind of fed that one to you, but you can also look at the what is it the what's that terrible term they have for Texans? Howdy Arabia, Saudi Arabia, and Howdy Arabia, wherein
I've never heard
governmental
that before.
entities. Yeah, well, yeehaw, right? Um, you have people who are making decisions based upon their faith. It bleeds into their exercise of political muscle, which makes which makes differences in the society we live in. The problem with religion is not that it exists inside a person's head like a cancer that makes them think of magical things like pixies and tri triune gods. It's that these people make decisions in the real world that affect other people that don't have those beliefs. And there's enough of them where they can start restricting the rights of others because of their pet superstition. That's my problem. It's not benign. Magical thinking is dangerous because there's no limit to it. Faith is not merely an occasionally reliable source of way of examining the world. Faith is also a justification that bad actors can use to amplify their prejudice. I don't think you're arguing any of that, Arnold, and I'm not going to let you come back on this one. You're not those people. I don't think you are. You are an honest interlocutor. I enjoyed this conversation, but um, we can't take you all day. We have to move on to other callers. So I would encourage you to call back. Emma, last thought is yours.
Oh, I just want to apologize because I think we were all over the place on that one, all 3 of us.
Yeah, it's hard. And for those folks in the chat who might think, "Geez, wrangle your cats already." We all have a lot of thoughts, and Arnold, Emma, and myself, we can come at these issues from lots of different directions, and I think it's fun. It's invigorating, but it can also be
Mm.
kind of exhausting.